or big corporations, banking interests and so forth. And the people who control this go back in the day, like the kings, emperors, anywhere. If the people that resist your agenda, do you have to go out and send soldiers out to physically beat them down every time, costing you time, money, and resources? Or, do you use proven psychological techniques to manipulate, divide, and control the perceptions of the people to keep them in line with your agendas and ideas? But of course, you use the second, social conditioning. It's to condition people to a social viewpoint, perception, and behaviour pattern that you want. So,
both are used, aren't they?
Excuse me?
Both are used, in fact.
Which?
Well, the two things, you beat them down and so on. Yeah, you do in certain parts of the world.
What do you mean?
Well, sorry, can you go back to that? To beat them down cost you time, money. I mean, yeah, that's done in parts of the world, It's not done so much here. Although if you have a demo, too much of a demo, the police will come around and visit you and everything,
I mean,
so both of those things are used, in fact.
Both of them are, but every country still has some sort of education system and media. And that still sets up their framework for their overall view and perceptions. It's all constantly going on, No government goes to every member of the population going, I want you to constantly independently think about every single aspect of society. I want you to constantly think why I'm in charge. They're not. They put them within a limited viewpoint of possibility. So yeah, some countries do that, but especially in Western countries, it's even more so just social conditioning. Is that sort of what I mean? No, but you're right, like. Social conditioning involves controlling public's morality, level of education, sexuality, political views, religious views, their view towards health, physical health, drug use, nationalism, patriotism, sexism, racism, sectarianism, consumeristic habits, sense of community, self-respect, violent tendencies, fashion, all sorts of social trends or environmental views. That is so easy to do. As you can see, people's views change all the time from the mainstream media. So people are like sponges. Whatever the media and school tells them to believe without question. So it's very easy to do. This is all an attempt to further gender control and enslavement of populations to exploit their legal power. Keep the economic wheel turning. Here's a great quote from Bruce Lee. The mind is like a fertile garden in which anything that is planted, weeds or flowers will grow. So everyone has the potential to think any certain way. It just depends what information they're exposed to. From Aldous Huxley, author of Brave New World, said this in an interview. I think it is possible to make people contented with their servitude. I think this can be done. I think it has been done in the past, and I think it can be done more effectively now, because you can provide them with bread and circuses, and you can provide them with endless amounts of distractions and propaganda. That's back in the 50s. What are some examples of some institutes that research also social conditioning? Anything to do with social sciences, political science, right? These sort of things. It's really got to do with science, but applying scientific methods to get certain social goals. Tavistock Institute in London. Tavistock, sorry. That's a typo. Stanford Research Institute International, California. International Political Science Association in Montreal. Centre for Strategic and International Studies. The list goes on and on. All these places have private research going on. For private funding to a certain end, the public aren't allowed to know what they're talking about in most cases. Examples of some textbooks, academic textbooks which are released on these sort of topics. Handbook of Organizational Performance, Behavior Analysis and Management. Organizational culture, rule governed behavior and organizational behavior. There's any number of these. Social psychology, consumer behavior, handbook of consumer psychology. This is all well-studied field, very, very advanced. When you get into this idea of a scientific dictatorship, which I think it's a really good term to use, because in one sense you have the majority of the population and the words come out of someone who's got letters after their name's mouth, then it's true. There's no way to question it. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of private funding or interest he's got, it's true. He's got letters after his name, you know. And then also you have most scientists as well, who these preconceived ideas, which come from these kind of instituted ideas, which be accepted and not questioned. But there's only the scientists who came up and questioned what was put before them actually step up and push out the field. You can list any of them, like Schrödinger or Einstein or anyone.
That's Darwin, isn't it? Darwin evolution, that's a classic example.
Completely. So these areas are so broad, but it's hard to get into them. Scientific method has been corrupted by control of public and private funding, so that money reflects research. Not even that it reflects the research, it reflects what the research would say. Put enough money in and that's what you get. All these secret companies, billions and billions, and what do they get? Research saying smoking's healthy. You pay what you want and you get it. Some guy with letters after his name. Most scientists as well, absolute unquestioning faith in scientific journals, to the most part. You know, thinking that there's no such thing as censorship or controlled information or information that's left out. And to mention that, what's wrong with you having? What's wrong with you having these thoughts? There's no possibility of censorship in research. In public research journals. There's an interest in public research journals. What about all the research that goes on, billions and billions and trillions of research in private corporations, in military, and private research studies? That's not to be considered. Even though it's there and exists, but if it's not in a public journal, it doesn't exist. That's an interesting point which most people run away from. It's not real science, it's limited science. And science should be limited. It's accepted that no other research exists of any value except from publicly published work. Trillions of pounds globally goes into black budget research of militaries, intelligence agencies, and advertising, and psychology, and sociology, and all these areas. But this private research apparently does not exist in mainstream science. You know, that's what's very interesting. The interesting thing about the IPCC, the Governmental Panel on Climate Change, their research, which they put forward and say this is the reason for climate change. Some of the data reason is private, and the public aren't allowed to get access to it. If scientists go, can we look at that data so we can verify it? No, it's private. But trust us, it's true, you're not allowed to look at it. What? Where's the media, where's all the scientists that they're talking out about it? No. People are kept in line because they don't step out of line, they don't get money. They don't get their wage. So in marketing, what is better than getting people to want to buy your product? What is better than getting people to buy your product? What's better than getting people to buy your product is getting people to want your product. It's far, far better. And it's more important to force an economic, political or social agenda on the population. That's very hard to do. What's more easier is to condition the population to want it. That's what you do. A few psychological operations and get them in line, no problem. Right. What are the levels of social conditioning? Conscious, subconscious, biological. These are just broad headings which I just came up with myself to try and narrow this down. People can. This isn't fixed or static. People can look this over themselves. So on a conscious level, well, you have limited education. So how people's education is limited by money. There you go. Limited literacy skills, numeracy skills, analytical skills. So much for cherishing the education of children. Population can't think critically. Problem, reaction, solution can occur. These simple ideas where if you want a certain reaction from a population, you create a problem, then you come along and say, well, I've got the solution for that problem, even though you engineered it all day long. Ideological indoctrination is a standard thing. Pick up any psychology textbook and they'll talk all about this. Politics, religion, science, you can indoctrinate people in any sort of point of view. Nationality and culture, you can create cultures. Culture comes from cult, just meaning that people follow certain patterns constantly. Propaganda. Why does propaganda work? Propaganda works because it provides shortcuts and simplifies information. simplifies people's views on the world. He's bad, he's good.